Number 20, The Godfather Part 2. Most people would probably put the first Godfather movie on a list like this, but I've always liked Part 2 just a little more. Why? Well, first of all, you get told two stories for the price of one. It's like a double-decker film. And also, I just thought that the characters were a lot more interesting and fascinating this time around, but overall, both films should be considered one work, but you won't see the other one on this list, so you're just going to get Godfather Part 2. I've also heard people say Goodfellas is better than The Godfather, or vice versa. I mean, sure, they both deal with the mafia, but The Godfather is more focused on the family and its dynamics versus an in-depth behind-the-scenes look at the mob like Goodfellas. Totally different types of films, very different. Number 19, Back to the Future. Hands down the greatest teen comedy of the 80s. But that's not really fair, is it? Back to the Future is so much more than just that. I enjoyed the sequels as well, but the first film is pretty much perfect. And plus, Michael J. Fox is probably the coolest guy of all time, so there you go. And on a side note, I remember going to see Part 3 at the theaters before I saw Part 2, which is not a very good idea if you want to follow what the hell's going on. But the real deal is with the first movie. It's ingenious, it's funny, it's exciting, and it's definitely going to stand the test of time. You get it? Time, because future, time? Oh, never mind. Number 18, Touch of Evil. Contrary to what most people believe, Orson Welles made several masterpieces other than Citizen Kane throughout his career. My favorite of those would be this 1958 film starring Orson himself and Charlton Heston, who plays a Mexican. Just don't ask. The story is highly intriguing, the performances are great, but the real star of the film is Orson Welles' camera. He was light years ahead of his time when directing a film, and the camera work here is particularly impressive. It's too bad Welles didn't have complete control of this film, or any other he did besides Citizen Kane, because he might have topped himself critically at some point. So there you have it, Touch of Evil by Orson Welles, a unique, ahead of its time black and white film that is told through the unique vision of a true pioneer, Orson Welles. Number 17, Pinocchio. Most people are familiar with the story of Pinocchio, even if they've never actually seen the movie. And they're also probably aware of the iconic moments from the movie, such as the blue fairy or Pinocchio's nose growing long when he tells a lie. Pinocchio has a certain charm that's missing from a lot of computer-generated films nowadays, that a lot of times go for cheap pop culture references in exchange for story. But what most people don't realize about Pinocchio is that there are several scenes that are pure nightmare fuel, like this. And this. Oh! But most importantly, this moment. Oh my goodness, look at that. Look at that, as a kid, he's been bad, he turns into a donkey. And he's scared. But in the end, it's my all-time favorite Disney film. Number 16, Rosemary's Baby. Say what you want about Roman Polanski's private life, but back in the 60s and 70s, this man was making uncompromising thrillers that were second to none. Rosemary's Baby is definitely one of the best horror films of all time, simply because it doesn't rely on cheap gimmicks like monsters or anything supernatural like that. It's all psychological, it all happens, and you don't know what's going on until the end of the film, where it literally sends chills down your spine. The ending to the movie is one of the best in horror history, and it literally will make you pee your pants.